Well, hello and welcome back everyone to the New Being Hypnosis channel and to the Quantum Credo Corner series. My name is Troy J. Bacon. I'm a certified hypnotherapist and certified Reiki healer. And I'm joined today with my friend Derrick Ivy, who's also a certified hypnotherapist and Reiki master teacher. And today, our topic will be mostly centered around dispelling misconceptions about hypnosis and hypnotherapy, and then we'll be going into more detail about what our versions of hypnotherapy are and what that looks like. And I will turn it over to Derrick and let him introduce himself, and so we'll go from there.
Hey everybody, welcome back. And my name is Derrick Ivy, and I'm a certified hypnotherapist. I do alchemal hypnotherapy, transpersonal hypnotherapy, just kind of the more spiritual aspects of hypnotherapy. And then I'm also a Reiki master teacher and an energy healing development instructor. So I'm glad I can be here to share knowledge with you all and share in the abundance of life.
Thank you, Derrick. Anyway, I've been talking about this topic of hypnosis and hypnotherapy, and I want to say that hypnotherapy is nothing like stage hypnosis. They're really two completely different games, if you could call it, as a metaphor. Kind of like how baseball and football are two ball games, but very different with different rules, different setup, different players. And so I'm not going to say too much about stage hypnosis because I think we've all seen it in the media. And I want to say that hypnotherapy requires the willingness of the individual and especially their desire to be healed. I cannot, and I'm sure Derrick cannot, and others cannot, just hypnotize somebody and induce a healing and force a healing on them. They need to actually want it
Yeah.
and be willing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just talking with a lady yesterday um about the misconceptions of hypnosis. And we were getting really clear on that. She had some concerns, and I was like, you know what, you're not gonna, I asked her kind of what her conceptions were, and it was that, with, well, I don't know, like if I'm going to be out of control or what's going to happen to me. And I kind of reminded her that it's, you're not going to be in a state where you're not in control of yourself and your senses. Like, you're not going to do anything that you wouldn't normally do. You're not going to, if there was a threat that came into the room, you would be able to snap out of it like that. It's not mind control. It's, we're helping you access this deeper state of consciousness where you are, the analytical mind is much out of the way, and then we're working with your subconscious, but that doesn't mean that you're incapacitated and that you're going to start doing things that you don't feel comfortable with. And I think that's one thing that I always try to remind my clients and my new clients is that you're still fully in control of what you share. And then, like you said, also it has to be, you still have to be ready to make the change and really want that change. It's not a, like I hypnotize you and it's like a magic bullet. It's like this is a tool that is very, very, very effective if you're ready to make the change and you want to have some help subconsciously kind of aligning more with that goal. But I think that's important to note that it's not a magic bullet. You're not going to and like it, for example, cigarettes is a really popular one with us as hypnotherapists. And if you love smoking cigarettes and you never uh even think about quitting, then yeah, the hypnosis is might, avert you from it for a little bit, but until you're truly ready to make that change, I don't think it's going to happen. Um, and it's just I just want people to know that it's completely safe. Like the main side effect of hypnosis is relaxation and clarity. But that being said, it's like you're not going to not be you.
Yeah, I agree with all of
In
that.
fact, you might even be more you than because you have that noise out of the way.
Yeah, I would agree, and I've experienced that. Um, After I started um, practicing hypnotherapy, on myself and with others, I definitely felt that sense of clarity. And so, yeah, there's these different types of hypnotherapy too. Clinical, which is very mainstream. I've learned some of how to do more clinical hypnotherapy, and that was part of my original um, training, but that's not where my main talents lie, I would say. I've always been a fairly spiritual and intuitive person, and so I seem to work well with. I haven't learned to call it quantum healing or quantum hypnotherapy, but I suppose that is what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Because yeah, when I pretty much from the beginning of when I started practicing with people, it was like spirits would show up and very quickly some of the first people I worked with anyway were I'll say mind control abuse survivors. And what happens with that um, type of individual and even some other, I mean, this could happen with anyone. I know this happens with other people too who don't go through the government mind control abuse programs, but these inner alters. And so this is one thing that is kind of actually, from my understanding, the more clinical hypnotherapists don't even touch this area and this aspect of people, because I was told by the school I went through that we shouldn't even attempt to hypnotize people who have multiple personality disorder. And maybe there is a diagnosable side of that. I'm sure there is, and that's its own thing. But what I've found is that a lot of people with multiple personalities, um, those are literally people within them. And it's kind of weird to deal with that, or that's like
Yeah.
opening the door to other dimensions of human reality, I think. I'll say that with when working with inner alters, then that becomes like the inner alters have their own personalities. Some of them are literally split off um, imprints of where they were at that age when they got traumatized. And sometimes they develop their own personality too, that may be protective, defensive, um, typically operating from the state or what they feel is needed to deal with that trauma. and sometimes they come through blending or it almost taking over a person in a way. You might see their personality change dramatically. Um, they're usually not aware of it or in control of it, but yeah, these alters are in some people, and this can happen with anyone, I think. Um, Most people don't experience such extreme trauma to have inner alters, but
Mm-hmm.
that's something I've dealt with. And so what I've learned to do with that is literally approach it as separate people, pretty much, and talk with those alters. Inner child healing is kind of its own thing, but also similar, and it plays in. Inner child healing can be talking with the person's inner child, but with inner alter healing, that's like, I guess the process is very similar, but really talking with the personality and the person, getting to know them.
Now, for
And
those that don't understand this, can you kind of explain what inner altar healing is for those listening that don't really understand
yeah,
what it is?
yeah, of course. Um, so inner alters, I think everyone has heard the term multiple personality disorder or alternate personalities.
Mm,
And
yeah.
it's it's been shown in some TV shows and movies that I've known of, not very commonly, but people can, um, I think from birth, not so commonly from birth, but the way I know it is typically from trauma or some sort of life event. Um,
Mm,
Masters of hypnotism can even create an altar, but I don't do that, and I don't really know how. That's more of a government and military thing anyway. But yeah, inner alters and alternate personality conditions is when, especially a traumatized person, someone who's been through trauma, especially as a child, and we're
mhm,
not talking just extreme stress or high periods of stress. We're talking like actual, it could be life threatening or
mhm.
extreme trauma, torture, maybe rape, assault, um, all sorts of those things. It could even be from a family member or a church person, for example. Um, but it does happen with the military programs too, secret military programs. And so what an inner alter is like, say a person gets, I don't know, maybe abused and or molested at the age of maybe 5 or 6, and so then uh, with trauma, I'll say this quickly, that with trauma, it's very common for the victim, whatever is going on, to leave their body, especially if it's extreme and very hard for the mind to deal with.
Yes.
And so when that happens, even if they don't like leave their body somewhere to astral projection, um, or like completely shut down, there's often a dissociation, even if they're completely
Mhm,
aware of what's happening. And that time of dissociation seems to create this alter that um, it's kind of like a split off personality um, of who they
yeah.
were at that age of the trauma, the incident. And so then with this dissociation and this interpersonality, they get stuck there. That personality never seems to go away in my experience after that. Sometimes it's dormant for most of their life for many years. Sometimes it comes out, quite often I found that it comes out with people when they're perhaps traveling, going to a new place that they're not familiar with, doing something new,
Mhm,
having to um, maybe even just go out in public and they're not sure where they're going, or meeting new people sometimes. There's all kinds of scenarios that can trigger it, but sometimes they just say something off, kind of like what a child would say, or what some people would call a stupid question, or make fun of somebody they shouldn't. And yeah, that can be the inner child coming through, sometimes to play, to be defensive, sometimes to just be there as it's kind of like a mechanism. And so one of the things I've learned with inner alter healing is working with them for integration, if that's what is agreed upon with the alter and the adult personality. And so that's
Mhm.
um, one more specific thing I've done with this this hypnotherapy I've done, kind of quantum hypnotherapy.
Yeah, what came to mind for me was kind of a process of integration um, of these parts. So in my work, like, and it's one of the things I teach in my quantum shift program is like this, it's this integration process where we bring all of these parts of us together to kind of hash things out because they both have things that will help us, every part of us. Um, but it's like sometimes it ends up working against each other. So it's like, how do we get them to all of these different parts that we have to cohesively work together and make this, like use the energy that would have used to have been anxiety or fear. Well, what can we do? How can we use that energy for growth and integration and expansion? So it's kind of like we contact these parts, and then sometimes we have to give these parts of ourselves a different job to um, keep us moving in the direction that we want.
Yeah, that's true. Um, One thing that I've done and that is often needed, every case is different, of course, with inner
Hmm.
alter, but um, get to know that alter and find out especially what they need, why they're
Yes,
behaving in a certain way, what they perceive
totally.
that they need. And sometimes you need to reassure them that they're not going through that trauma anymore, and educate them about the adult life, the adult personality and
Yeah.
reality, and that everything is okay now. They don't need to, that it doesn't help for them to continue acting from a defensive or scared state.
Hmm.
And from there, once you get them to, um, what's the word, kind of just be at ease more, a little more chill, then you can start to work with them, use things like imagery to give them more of what they need. And um, sometimes for me, it's been just applying light, color, maybe in rainbows. And
Hmm.
for example, somebody I know likes the image of a disco ball. And so that I think represents integration of all these facets of you. And yeah, it can
Yeah.
be an image sometimes is all they need after that initial validation and essentially disarming their alarm system, to then bring in or bring together that inner personality with the human personality, so that they can start cooperating better.
Yeah. And also, like, there's the other piece to that you were just saying is like there might be something operating in them that was formed as a defense mechanism at some point in their life, like, you know, when these traumatic events happen. um and you know, maybe it served them, it kept them safe at that time, and in some cases even kept them alive. But then it's like updating that and being like, okay, but now, you know, like this happened when you were 5 years old and now you're 45. So those same rules of your life do not apply to you now that as they did back then. So it's like updating that. I always think of it as like updating the program. Um, you know, like getting the new update and erasing all that old stuff that's no longer um helpful or necessary anymore. And because it takes up space in our field, you know, if we're not clearing this stuff out, then it's distorting our energy bodies, which is a distortion in the energy body inevitably causes physical issues later, because the physical body is a reflection of those psychic bodies that we all have in our auric egg. So it's like it goes way beyond just that, like it even goes into people's physical health. And I've seen people's physical health improve by leaps and bounds just by doing this type of work that we're talking about today. You know, they release some heavy stuff and maybe they lose some weight, or maybe their hormones start working better, or um they they have freedom that they've never really known before as an adult, or maybe ever.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm glad you said that last word, freedom. That is something that has happened with some of my clients is um, some of the mind control abuse survivors I've worked with have really turned their lives around. Yeah, where they have hoarded or where they have developed habits and behaviors and things that have set things up like blockages in their home or professional life or something else. And I've seen
Hmm.
them after we work through these things, and even um, I've done further imagery and further exercises with them to um, learn to want and value that cleanliness and orderliness. Um, and then from there, like within sometimes within a matter of weeks or less, that just they make the change. They start cleaning up. They start reorganizing what's out of disorder, and they start cleaning up
Hmm.
their relationships. And so that has been amazing to watch.
Yeah,
Um,
because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So, you know, if you're cluttered in your house, then you're probably cluttered um in your psychic bodies as well. And
yeah,
so therefore also if you clean up your physical space, then it cleans up the psychic bodies, and it cleans up a lot of issues, a lot of, you know, so it's like this is a process. It's kind of like that old saying, you'll never get rich with a burnt match and the pin cushion. It's kind of the same thing. It's like um you know, you have to totally commit to this transformation that could take any form, but that goes across your entire life.
yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, it is like kind of everything all at once, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the subconscious, the conscious, the energy body. Um, all layers of yourself. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, the mind, emotions, the spirit, the soul. If something's not working in your life, there's probably something going on every one of those levels. At least one, certainly,
Right.
but usually multiple. If one is having a problem, then that bleeds into the others. And
Yeah.
that's something that I want to mention with hypnotherapy, clinical or quantum, and I think all hypnotherapy, um, it can be quite profound on the nervous system and physical body, and yeah, how people tolerate things. I've worked with somebody who had fear of fear of going to the dentist, and they needed to. I think they're a
Hmm.
little overdue, but I helped them actually revisit some very old memories from. Um, some people may have heard of the Montauk program they were in, and the chairs there look similar to dental chairs, so that was a blockage for them. And so I had to rewire their association with that Montauk chair memory, and then um, apply some other imagery and associations with the dentist chair to trust what's happening there. And literally, I can probably meditate on it and figure out what I actually did again, probably do it again, but I'm not even sure specifically what went on with them when they went to the dentist. I think it was the next day or the next week. Um, they told me that they literally had, I think it was a large needle. It was some more than just normal operation, but um, they went there and then the procedure was done, and then um, the dentist said something about they didn't even react to the needle, and they didn't even like when the procedure was done, they weren't aware there was a needle. So maybe their subconscious just blocked it out. But
Hmm.
yeah, it was so effective that um, literally they were able to just get that done, and there was no pain and no issue.
Yeah. And it kind of, for whatever reason, what this reminded me of was also phobias. Because I've helped a lot of people with phobias, and kind of, that's something that is like, so they're so afraid of, like spiders or snakes, or I mean, I've had some weird ones, like things you wouldn't really even think people have phobias of, but it's kind of like the same thing. It's like going, like kind of taking the emotional charge out of that, or some just changes happening in the subconscious mind that um it's like there's no reason you have to keep suffering when you can use hypnosis as a tool and really gain freedom from that. Like your client gained freedom from that fear of going to the dentist, because you don't want to live your life in this fear that you aren't going to be able to deal with stuff. And hypnosis can really help, because we use the imagination to play around with it before it's actually there in our physical reality. We can kind of go down different timeline scenarios, and we can see what would feel best to us, and have the analytical mind out of the way. So yeah, I think that's huge.
Yeah, we are really all just programs, ultimately, is what it comes down to. And so that's what hypnotherapy is. Um, Going back to this, or the difference between hypnosis and hypnotherapy, it's a therapy in the title hypnotherapy that I think matters. And
Yes.
I think a lot of stage hypnotists tend to actually induce fear and use that, even abuse that in their shows.
Yeah,
Um,
that's so unfortunate because what hypnotherapy actually is not, we're never going to induce fear in you. We're never going to um do anything other than help you to hold space for what is coming up, and then helping you to kind of sift through what's there, alchemize and help you change that energy, and then bring that back with you into the present time and in your future. But yeah, it's really unfortunate that people have been, some of the things that have happened with stage hypnosis, and then now that's what's glued in people's mind about hypnosis subconsciously, is their, I don't want to go cluck like a chicken, or I don't want to run around on stage naked. I've heard a lot of stuff like that. And so that's always why I always ask people, first thing, what are your current conceptions about hypnosis? Because if that is going on and they are feeling that way, I want them to know the whole story. And yes, hypnotherapy versus hypnosis, it's like the hypnotherapy, we're able to actually help them in a much deeper way than just and yeah, what we do is much deeper than just taking you into the state of relaxation and telling you stuff. I think that's another misconception. I don't know if you've kind of had that too, like where people just think that, we're going to take them into this trance state and then just tell them what to do, and then everything will be fixed forever. um and that's not true. There's work involved. And we can, in hypnotherapy, we can take you into this very, very relaxed state and change your brainwave states. And then we can help you look at what's there from that calmer, more wise perspective, that more skillful perspective of you. um and it's all you, it's not about what we want, or um what we think you should do. We're here to help you find what's best for you.
yeah, definitely. That is what we are here for as therapists. Um, yeah, and that's one thing I want to say about hypnotherapy is that um, it's kind of modern versions of hypnotherapy that especially came about since World War II era, um, with battlefield, um, on the spot trauma hypnosis, um, which I think has been discontinued in the military at least, but I know it's still possible, of course. Um, and so that led to other forms of hypnosis being more common, um, in the mainstream, and showed the real therapeutic aspects of it. And so then clinical hypnotherapy really hit the main scene, I think, since the 1960s. It really became bigger. But what hypnotherapy really is from my understanding, historically, is something much more ancient. And actually, it may go back, probably 2 to 4 thousand years, maybe more. Um, in Egypt, I'm guessing a lot older in ancient civilizations that are unrecorded.
I Yeah, I
But
mean, we're, as humans, we're naturally in a state of hypnosis. We pass through it every night before we're about to fall asleep. We're in it the second we wake up. So it's like I think it's pretty old, because it's like working with that state is kind of our nature, right?
it is, and yeah, modern hypnotherapy, or what's kind of known as hypnotherapy, still has some techniques that are very ancient and shamanic, and
Totally.
more than just from native North America or the Americas. Yeah, this goes back really all around the world anciently. And um, yeah, it's basically a science that people have tapped into in cultures and shamanic practices to induce trance states, um, often with drumming in the past.
Yeah,
Sometimes they would do just like singing or they're chanting. Some cultures and practices have used burning of herbs and smoke, um, all kinds of things. Um,
totally.
yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of like it goes back to like an induction technique, like, just like that absorption of a single focus, which is like the drumming, that's absorbing oneself into that single focus and allowing that to help us dip into a deeper level of trance.
yeah. Um, I honestly feel that some of my um, or inductions that I do, and some of well, I know for a fact that some of what I do and can offer with my um, inductions and techniques is from much more ancient times that I've remembered. Some of it
Mhm.
is kind of based off of what I've been taught from my
Let's
schooling, but
explain what an induction is to people that, because feel like a lot of people don't know what that is if they're not. So it's like if you're new to hypnosis, an induction is how we get you into that deep state of relaxation before we start doing the dirty work. But sorry to interrupt, Troy. I just wanted to put that in there so people could kind of have an idea of what we're talking about if they haven't heard of hypnosis before.
yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah, the induction is during this during each session with the therapist, um, the very beginning of the hypnotherapy process, the hypnosis process, and yeah, it is usually with one or more fascination techniques to entertain the conscious mind, um, stimulate the conscious mind, and the way I've learned to do it is often overwhelming the conscious mind with multiple kinds of stimuli and thoughts. Um,
Yeah.
and when the conscious, literally, um, hypnosis, the process of going into hypnosis is the same as the process of going into anxiety. And
Mhm.
there's practically no difference except for how you do it. And so going into hypnosis is usually much more, of course, much more pleasant than anxiety.
Right. I was gonna
But
say that. Well, it's like at least hypnosis is a pleasant, but yeah, it takes over.
yeah, and so yeah, it's basically capturing the conscious mind and then weakening the conscious mind's defenses as it naturally functions, and helping the conscious mind step aside so that the subconscious is much more open and active and dominant, and then the person's awareness um, essentially sinks into the subconscious state or states, depending on the brain wave and depending on how deep they want to go or need to. And so that's
Mhm.
essentially the very basic mechanics of how I understand hypnotherapy works is yeah, bypassing the conscious mind with all of its beliefs and preconceptions and fears and other things to then go into the subconscious and address what else is there, which can be also preconceptions and fears and beliefs and all kinds of things.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think above all, I just want everyone to know that you're completely safe, you're completely supported through this process. And, if there's anything that you're unsure of, then you should get a hold of a hypnotherapist. Troy or myself can help you kind of understand how this all fits into your life. Um, and above all, just know that it's a very like loving and safe process to go through this, and there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing that's gonna take you over or make things not okay. Um, because we're trained to go as slow as possible, to only handle things that you're also the subconscious kind of protects you and won't let you go to places that are too much right now. So kind of that it's kind of a self-guiding process, in a lot of ways. Like what comes up in each session is what's ready to, and you're just held in such a really divinely loving space, in these type of sessions. I think that's one thing I just wanted people to really understand there, is that it's like you're safe, you're supported, and um there's definitely a lot that you can get out of each session that is insights that you get a sense of yourself that you don't get in other places. um and I've heard that time and time again, like, people just they finally do it and then they're like, wow, that was incredible. Like I couldn't believe how vivid that was, like how much I was able to how much information came through, because it's like you're out of the way, and it's a great way to get so many downloads. I just want people to know it's a positive process. There's very few negative things about it. And I've done this for a long time, and so is Troy. And it's just, there's very negative, or very little negative things to say about it. And after doing hundreds and hundreds of sessions.
Yeah. Um, Off the top of my head, I can't even think of negative things about hypnotherapy. Um, Other than some people complain about paying any money for it, even though it is very valuable. Um, you
Well,
you pretty much,
if they don't want to pay money for it, then I don't think they're ready to get the
yeah,
help, because honestly, the investment of hypnotherapy, if you were able to quit smoking, like this is what I don't understand about people that have a hard time paying for it, but then they'll keep buying packs of cigarettes, they'll, drink alcohol, just like their life is a mess. Like, not no judgment, but like I've seen this happen a few times, but then they say they can't afford a session. Okay, well, if you were able to quit smoking cigarettes, I mean, granted, you're ready, but what would that be worth to you? Like, and so I always think about, this really hypnotherapy is an excellent deal, because you could pay X amount and never have to smoke again. Or what if it helped you save your marriage? What if it helped you um, get a better job and start earning what you're really worth? You can't put a price on that. So um, I just wanted to kind of clear that up too while we're here doing misconceptions, is if you don't feel that hypnotherapy is worth your money, then I don't think you're ready. And I stand by that because I've worked with a lot of people, and that's what I've noticed for sure. The people that aren't ready to invest are um they don't think they're worth it. And so I'm definitely here to help people work through that too. Like if you don't feel you're worth it, then I can help you see your own worth, and that might be the first step.
Yeah. Um, that's that's of course the point, and very important to say. Yeah, if they truly wanted it, they would do it, and it is a life investment. Um,
Totally.
yeah, it's like it's kind of like, well, actually, I don't know what it's like. I'm having trouble thinking of anything
I
else in
was
life
thinking
that.
kind of I mean, Reiki is one that, there's an energy exchange involved because, like Dr. Asui, who started Reiki, he started healing all these people for free basically when he first rediscovered the healing method. And but then they would come back to him unhealed again because they didn't put forth that it's like an act of faith, to invest in your healing as an act of faith that you're giving your time, your hard-earned time and energy and money to something that's going to make you better. But if you didn't invest that, then what motivation do you have to, after, oh, that was a cool experience, what motivation do you have outside to actually sustain those changes? You really don't, because it's like, well, that was cool, but like it's not costing you anything. So, and also in like 95% of the changes in a hypnosis session or a healing session happen outside of the session. um this primes the pump, but the real healing happens when you're in your everyday life and you're faced with that kind of energy of, do I want to repeat the past, or do I want to, do this different thing, this new way of being? And if you didn't invest a penny in yourself, then what's stopping you? Like, and some people are like, well, that just shows it's, like a placebo effect or whatever, but that's not true either, because um it's not a placebo effect. There's real benefits to the hypnotherapy, to the healing. It's been backed by research and science. Scientists have already pinned down all that about how effective it is. But there's that second piece where it's like that, the work required outside of session to maintain continuing moving forward. And if you don't have an investment and you didn't invest anything and you don't think that it's worth that investment, then you don't think you're worth that investment. You don't um feel like it could work for you because you're not worth it, right? So I don't know. Hopefully that made sense, but it's just definitely important to me to for people to understand that as well. Like, that by saying no to your growth, you're saying no to yourself.
Yeah, and I guess my question in response to that, or related to that, is um, to clients who do um, who don't think that hypnotherapy is worth the monetary cost. My question is, have has your addiction or whatever you're dealing with been worth it? Has it been helping you in some other way?
Right.
And so I think probably 99% of everyone would say no.
Right,
Um,
right.
but yeah,
Totally.
that's my question. And so
That's
I think,
huge. Yeah, and yeah, because yeah, how has that been working? And like
yeah,
I also encourage people to look at the result, not it's not about how long. That's something that some people don't understand about hypnosis, is it's not about how long or how many hours you're under in hypnosis. It's, was that change made on a deep level? And yeah, it's look at the result of what is gonna happen as a result of this hypnosis, more so than thinking about if one session is worth it, or it's so much bigger than that. And we're all um I invest a lot of money in my own healing, and I wouldn't be where I am today without that. And I'm sure you're the same way, Troy, where it's like that's the priority, because our energy is our biggest asset. If we don't have our energy at its tip top shape, everything else in our life is going to be distorted. So, really, that's my first priority, myself.
yeah, mine too. And that's why I've gotten to where I am and why I got into hypnotherapy
Yeah.
when I did, because I was going through tough times and my body was uncomfortable, my mind was, and everything was just kind of a mess within me. And
Mhm.
I didn't know who I was too, and I wanted to learn more about myself and um, all kinds of things. And so then I did fix all of that, and I did fix what I was suffering from. I learned how to on not only the subconscious and energy levels and mind levels, but integrating that with dietary practices, dietary changes, perhaps exercise and movement changes, and um, all sorts of other little things. That's what hypnotherapists do too, is not just the work with the subconscious, but most of us do this work integrating and recommending resources, recommending changes, and integrating the healings within the session with your personal work of changing those things in your daily life. And so then it becomes I think, an extra valuable gift that keeps on giving when you can truly get rid of those painful joints, when you can get rid of those body issues, or see real changes and feel them in your body after whatever you need to do, and do it naturally. Um, I believe almost everything that people want to change is accomplishable very naturally, because we
Mhm.
have the tools within us and our bodies already do to make the change that we want. Our
Yes.
minds do too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, then it becomes extra valuable. I think, Derek, where can people reach you and how can people get a hold of you?
So everyone, you can reach me on my website at www.dgtwellness.com. Or also, I'm on Facebook as just my name, Derrick Ivy, DG Transformational Wellness on Instagram, and reach out anytime. I'll get back with you when I can. My practice is very full, so but I will definitely get back with you as soon as possible if you want to leave me a message, or uh fill out a form on my website and we'll get you in for a free consult. I do free consults, just to so it gives you an opportunity to find out whether or not you think hypnosis or the energy healing work that I do is going to be beneficial.
Again, my name is Troy J. Bacon, and my website is newbeinghypnosis.com. New Being Hypnosis is the name of the practice. And I also offer Reiki as an energy healing service, so that can do its own work with the Reiki energy. Yeah, I offer tinnitus treatment and all kinds of things with hypnotherapy for the mind, body, emotion, and spirit. I can easily work with fears, phobias, all kinds of negative programs, increase motivation, as well as more deep things and kind of more metaphysical things like past life regression, soul contract healing, which really is more in the quantum and higher spiritual realm, I think. But yeah, I do all kinds of work with hypnotherapy and energy healing. Newbeinghypnosis.com, and I'm accepting clients. I'm open to call, text, or email. And I'm also available on Facebook as Troy J. Bacon. Patreon is Troy J. Bacon. And of course, here on YouTube. And so all my information is linked up below. I'll be sure to have Derrick's website too linked in the description below. So it has been an honor sharing my piece with you again. And I wish you unconditional blessings from the Starlight of Sirius, as we are all sacred beings. Thank you for watching again.
Talk soon.
Bye for now.